The sun had barely set when Nicholas Grant, the 38-year-old billionaire tech mogul, returned to his Manhattan penthouse after another grueling day filled with board meetings and media appearances. Behind the designer suit and sharp jawline was a man exhausted by fame, craving the one place he could breathe freely, his kitchen, and there she was, Maya Lawson, his private chef for the past 7 months. She wasn't like the others who tiptoed around his reputation. Her laugh didn't shrink in his presence. Her voice didn't tremble when she disagreed. She was just real. As she stirred her signature tomato bisque, Nicholas leaned against the doorway, watching her hum to herself, apron stained, curls tucked in a messy bun. That night, she served more than food. She served comfort, a conversation, and for the first time in years, Nicholas felt human again. But what started as harmless late-night chats and shared meals soon spiraled into something deeper, unspoken, electric. 2 months later, while Nicholas presented the keynote at a global tech summit, Maya stared down at 2 pink lines on a pregnancy test in her modest apartment. Her heart stopped. She was pregnant, with her billionaire boss's baby, and nothing would ever be the same. The early morning light slanted through the blinds in Maya's tiny Brooklyn apartment, striping the walls in gold. But Maya Lawson didn't feel golden. She felt like the floor was missing beneath her feet. Her trembling hand gripped the bathroom sink as she stared at the pregnancy test again. 2 pink lines, not 1. 2. She'd taken 4 tests, each confirming the impossible truth. Pregnant by Nicholas Grant. She pressed a hand over her flat stomach. It felt surreal, like she was watching someone else's life unravel. She was 30, fiercely independent, and had spent the last decade rebuilding her life after her parents died in a car crash. Becoming a private chef for New York's most private billionaire was supposed to be a stepping stone, not the beginning of chaos. She couldn't cry, she wouldn't cry. She didn't regret the night it happened. In fact, she remembered every second of it. It was a rainy Tuesday in February, and Nicholas had returned home soaked, furious, and defeated after a tech deal fell through. He looked nothing like the polished man the press adored. He was drenched, his hair a mess, eyes red, rimmed with exhaustion. She'd made hot tea. They'd talked for hours, and then he kissed her. It wasn't planned. It wasn't polite, it was needed. Their chemistry had always simmered beneath the surface, but that night the fire roared. They promised themselves it was just one time, just one mistake, except it wasn't. It happened again and again. Each encounter whispered unspoken things. I need you, I trust you, you see me. Now Maya had proof of their silent truth growing inside her. Maya arrived at the Grant Tower later that morning, head down, hoodie up. She passed the luxury concierge who greeted her as Chef Maya and took the elevator up to the 85th floor, the private penthouse. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Nicholas was scheduled to return in 2 days from San Francisco. That gave her time, but not much. The penthouse, like its owner, was minimal, elegant, and cold, until Maya stepped into the kitchen. Here her spices lived. Her energy warmed the stainless steel. Her handwritten recipes were pinned to the fridge like love notes to herself. She tried to focus on preparing Nicholas's post-trip meals. Seared salmon, quinoa salad, grilled vegetables, all his favorites, but her nausea returned mid-chop, and she barely made it to the sink in time. Maria, the soft-spoken housekeeper who'd become like an aunt to her, appeared silently behind her. Morning sickness, she said quietly, handing Maya a cool towel. Maya's eyes widened. How did you know? Maria only smiled. I raised 5 children. You think I wouldn't recognize that look? Maya sat down, defeated. Maria, I'm pregnant. Maria's expression softened. And Mr. Grant, he doesn't know. Do you plan to tell him? I don't know. Maria knelt beside her, placing a hand on Maya's. Secrets don't stay secret in this building, especially not ones that cry in the middle of the night. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She sat by her window, watching the city buzz like it always did, oblivious to her personal storm. What would Nicholas say? Would he fire her, pay her off? Would he even want to be a father? She wasn't just a chef. She was his chef. The one who knew how he liked his toast slightly burnt, his coffee black, his meals plated without garnish because he hated fluff. She knew he always watched old documentaries when he couldn't sleep, that he secretly wrote poetry, that he played piano in the middle of the night. They weren't just colleagues, they were something more. Something undefined, and now they were about to become something permanent. 2 days later, Nicholas returned. He entered the penthouse quietly, as always, setting down his bag and loosening his tie. Maya stood at the kitchen counter pretending to chop parsley, heart thundering in her chest. "Hey," he said, stepping into the kitchen, his voice low and tired, but his eyes lit up when he saw her. "I missed your cooking, and I missed ruining your calorie count," she replied with a weak smile. He chuckled, stepping closer. "I also missed your face." Their eyes locked. Then, as if drawn by gravity, he leaned in and kissed her soft and slow. Maya melted into it. Just for a second, then she pulled back. "Nicholas, we need to talk." He tensed. "Okay, what's going on?" She looked down, then handed him a small white envelope. Inside, a folded test strip. His face paled as he unfolded it. He stared at it in silence. Then back at her. "You're pregnant?" he whispered. She nodded. "Are you sure?" "I've taken 4 tests, I'm sure." He paced the room, dragging a hand through his hair. "How? We were careful, not careful enough." A heavy silence filled the room. Maya's voice cracked. "I'm not asking for anything. I don't need your money or your name. I just needed you to know." Nicholas looked at her, his blue eyes stormy and unreadable. "And what do you want from me?" Maya's lips trembled. "I don't know." He nodded slowly, breathing heavily. "I need some time to think." He left, not a word, not a goodbye, just walked out the door into the city night, leaving Maya alone with the test strip still on the counter, and a future she couldn't pause. For 3 days, Maya heard nothing from Nicholas, no calls, no messages, not even a calendar update from his assistant. She kept coming to the penthouse each morning, cooking, cleaning, and pretending her world wasn't unraveling. But his absence was louder than any confrontation. The man who once texted her at 2 a.m. asking for warm cookies and real conversation had vanished into silence. She felt like a ghost in his life, still present, but suddenly invisible. "Maria noticed? Still haven't spoken?" she asked gently one afternoon as Maya scraped burnt bits from a cast-iron skillet. "No," Maya said, her voice flat. "He left the night I told him. I haven't seen him since." Maria nodded like she understood more than she said. "Sometimes men walk away before they walk back." Maya offered a weak smile. "He's not the walking back type." That night, unable to sleep, she walked down to the riverfront. The cold air bit at her skin, but she needed the sting. She needed something real to distract from the ache in her chest. Her thoughts spiraled. Should I quit? Should I tell him I'll leave quietly? Should I raise the baby alone? Her phone buzzed in her pocket. "Nicholas," she stared at the screen, hesitant. Finally she answered. "Hello?" His voice was tight, breathless. "Are you home?" "No, I'm by the East River. I'm outside your building." Maya's heart thudded. "I'll be there in 10 minutes." She arrived breathless, heart pounding. He stood near the entrance, hands in his coat pockets, eyes shadowed with sleeplessness. "Hey," he said softly. She crossed her arms. 3 days, Nicholas." "I know. I didn't know what to say." "So you said nothing?" "I was processing. That's not what people who care do. They don't disappear." He stepped closer. "I wasn't disappearing. I was panicking." "Panicking?" she repeated, incredulous. "I've built empires, sold companies, faced down government regulators and billion-dollar lawsuits. But this?" He gestured between them. "This terrifies me because it's not a business plan. It's real." Maya blinked, stunned. "You think I'm not terrified? This isn't just real for you. It's happening inside me." He stepped even closer, now just inches from her. I know, and I'm sorry for running." Maya's defenses faltered slightly. She'd never seen him like this. unsure, vulnerable, raw. I thought maybe you'd want me gone. He added that you'd rather raise the baby alone. Did I say that? No. Then don't assume it. He exhaled deeply. What do you want, Maya? She paused. I want to keep the baby. I want to do it on my terms, but I'm not going to beg you to be involved. You either are or you aren't. You don't get to be halfway. Nicholas nodded. Okay. I want to be involved, fully, completely. I just needed to be sure that I wasn't going to mess this up worse. He offered a small, sad smile. But I already did, didn't I? She didn't answer. Instead, she looked away. I have a doctor's appointment next Friday. You can come if you want. I'll be there. The following week passed in quiet tension. Nicholas resumed his nightly returns to the penthouse, but everything between them was different now. There were no midnight conversations, no playful banter, no soft touches over shared meals. Just two people orbiting around something too big for words. Maya spent more time at home, her nausea increased. Her energy dropped, and emotionally she was a storm inside. She never thought she'd be that girl, pregnant by her boss, a man with the world at his feet, a man who could have anyone. She wasn't glamorous or connected. She was just a girl who loved food, worked hard, and lost her family too early. She didn't want to be seen as a mistake, or worse, an inconvenience. Friday came. Nicholas arrived outside the clinic early, wearing jeans and a hoodie, looking more like a startup intern than a billionaire CEO. I brought snacks, he said awkwardly, holding a brown bag. You know, for after the appointment. I read that helps. She gave a half laugh. Okay, thanks. Inside, they sat in silence for most of the waiting time until Maya was called in. Nicholas stood to follow. You're allowed back, she said, surprised, of course. I'm not letting you do this alone. The nurse smiled as they entered. First ultrasound. Maya nodded. She lay back on the exam table, her hands cold and stiff. The screen came to life with a fuzzy gray image, and then, thump, 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 the sound filled the room. Nicholas sat upright. Is that, he asked, your baby's heartbeat? The nurse said warmly. Maya's throat tightened. And there's a second one. The nurse added. Silence. Nicholas blinked. Wait. Second what? The nurse pointed. Two twins. Congratulations. Maya's head fell back. Oh my God. Nicholas's mouth dropped open. Twins, you're sure? As sure as those heartbeats? The sound of two lives filled the room. Wild, fierce, impossibly small. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Nicholas reached for her hand without thinking. She let him hold it. After the appointment, they sat in his car for nearly 10 minutes without speaking. Finally, Nicholas turned to her. I don't know how to be a father, Maya. I didn't have one growing up. My mother worked 3 jobs. I raised myself. She looked at him. Neither of us knows what we're doing. He nodded. But I want to learn. I want to do this right. So do I. He hesitated. Does this change anything between us? Maya turned to him. It changes everything, Nicholas. His shoulders sank. But that doesn't mean it has to end badly, she added softly. He looked over, hopeful. Yeah, I don't know what we are. I don't know if I trust this yet, or you, but I trust that I want these babies, and I want peace, not secrets. Nicholas nodded slowly. Then we start from there, but peace would be short-lived, because across the city a headline was about to break. A tabloid had just acquired a blurry photo of Nicholas and Maya outside her building, him holding her close hand protectively around her waist. The caption is Billionaire Nicholas Grant expecting a love child with his chef. And with that, the secret was out, and the real war had just begun. It was barely 7 a.m. when Maya's phone lit up with a storm of notifications. 20 missed calls, 33 unread texts. Her screen buzzed non-stop Instagram tags, private messages, and emails from names she didn't even recognize. Confused, she rubbed her tired eyes and unlocked the phone. The first thing she saw was a text from Maria. Don't go outside, they're here. Maya blinked, sitting up in bed. Who's here? Then another notification popped up. A news alert, breaking. Tech billionaire Nicholas Grant involved with private chef. Sources claim she's pregnant. Underneath was a photo. Them, outside her building, his hand on her stomach. Maya's breath caught. She opened the link. In a shocking twist worthy of a Netflix script, notoriously private billionaire Nicholas Grant has been spotted with his longtime personal chef, Maya Lawson. Sources claim the two have been secretly involved for months, and that Maya is allegedly pregnant with his child, possibly children. Neither party has confirmed nor denied the rumors. She dropped the phone. Outside her window, the street had transformed into a circus. At least 5 paparazzi vans, 2 reporters holding cameras, strangers with phones raised. She reached for her curtains and pulled them shut, her hands trembling. At that moment, Nicholas was sitting in a conference room at Grant Tech HQ, sipping black coffee and trying to focus on a board meeting. His CFO was mid-sentence when Miranda, his head of PR, stormed in. "We have a problem," she said, slamming her iPad on the table. He raised a brow, calm but curious. She turned the screen toward him. The article, the photo, the headlines, the room went silent. Whispers passed between board members like wildfire. Nicholas simply stared at the screen, his jaw tightening. "Who leaked this?" he asked. "We're still investigating," Miranda said, "but it's spreading. TMZ, page 6. Even the Wall Street Journal picked it up." The CFO cleared his throat. "Nicholas, I don't mean to be blunt, but this could shake investor confidence. We're already seeing tweets about conflicts of interest and ethical misconduct." Nicholas stood, his voice quiet but steely. "What I do in my personal life is not misconduct. Maya is not an employee of Grant Tech. She is a private contractor." Still, a board member tried to interrupt. "I'll handle it." Nicholas snapped. He stormed out, dialing Maya's number. Straight to voicemail. He cursed and immediately called Maria. "She's not answering." Maria said softly, "And you should know. She hasn't stopped crying since she saw the article." Nicholas's voice dropped. "Is she safe?" "She's not hurt, but shaken, and you should see what the reporters are saying. Some of them are calling her a gold digger. Others are questioning the paternity." Nicholas closed his eyes. "Tell her I'm coming." By the time he arrived at her apartment, a security team had already blocked off the front entrance. Still, the paparazzi surged forward when they spotted him, shouting questions. "Nick, are you the father? Was it an affair? Is she getting a payout?" He pushed past them like a wall, face unreadable. Upstairs, Maya sat curled up on the couch in oversized pajamas, face red and puffy. Her apartment looked like a bomb had gone off. Pillows scattered, tissue boxes empty, TV still paused on the morning news. She didn't move when he walked in. He crouched down in front of her. "Maya," she looked at him, tears brimming. "You said we could take this slow. You said we'd do this quietly. Now the whole world knows." "I didn't leak it. I know," she whispered. "But I wasn't ready." He took her hands. "I'm sorry. I'll make this right." "How?" "I'll make a statement, public, direct, on my terms." She shook her head. "That'll only make it worse. The more you talk, the more they'll dig. I'm not ashamed of you, but they'll shame me." He stayed quiet, letting that truth hang in the air. "They're already calling me every name you can imagine," she added, "saying I slept my way into your money, that I'm trapping you, that I faked the pregnancy for attention." Nicholas felt his fists clench. "I'll sue them. That won't fix it," Maya said, her voice small. The internet never forgets. The next day, Maya's photo appeared on a tabloid cover under the headline, "The Pregnant Chef, Who is Maya Lawson?" The article listed her full name, culinary background, where she grew up, the restaurant she once worked at in Brooklyn, even her parents' names. Both deceased. Maya couldn't breathe. They had dug up her past. Her childhood, her trauma. She didn't leave the apartment for 48 hours. Nicholas hired round. The clock security. Still, the media pressure mounted. Stockholders started asking questions. Investors grew jumpy. Grant Tech's image, the pristine, forward, thinking empire, was suddenly tangled in gossip. Nicholas knew he had a choice: protect his brand or protect the woman he loved. He chose her. On Monday morning, the press gathered in the lobby of Grant Tech Tower for a scheduled announcement. No one knew what Nicholas would say. Then the elevator doors opened. Nicholas stepped out, alone, no lawyer, no PR rep. He walked to the mic and looked directly into the cameras. "My name is Nicholas Grant," he began. "Yes, I'm in a relationship with Maya Lawson. Yes, she's pregnant, with twins, and no, I'm not ashamed of it. I love her." Gasps echoed through the room. Reporters scrambled. "I won't be taking questions. I said what I came here to say. If that costs me investors, endorsements, or reputation, so be it, because some things are more important than business." He turned and walked away, cameras flashing like lightning behind him. That night, the clip went viral. Millions watched it on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Some called him brave, others called him reckless, but none of them really mattered. Because at that very moment, Maya sat in bed, watching the clip on her phone with one hand over her growing belly and the other wiping tears from her cheeks. Nicholas Grant had just told the world he chose her. But with the world watching and the pressure building, the hardest part was still ahead, because powerful people were about to step in, and not everyone wanted this love story to have a happy ending. The world didn't go silent after Nicholas's public confession. It roared louder. News anchors debated his decision. Podcasts speculated on Maya's past. Commentators dissected every second of his speech. Social media was split in two. One side praised his honesty, the other hurled vitriol at Maya. But the worst storm wasn't online. It was waiting in a boardroom uptown, at the Grant family estate. The Grant legacy wasn't just rich. It was dynastic. Political donors, philanthropic front pages. Generational wealth that was obsessively managed by the family matriarch, Evelyn Grant, Nicholas's mother, and she wasn't impressed. Nicholas walked into the estate's marble-floored hallway, past portraits of sharp-chinned ancestors who'd built America, according to his grandfather. He hadn't been here in months. Evelyn sat in her private library, sipping tea, her steel gray eyes already narrowed. "Do you want to explain yourself before I begin?" she said, without looking up from her iPad. "Hi to you too, Mother. Don't be cute, Nicholas." He sat down, uninvited. "I saw the interview," she continued, voice clipped, "and the headlines. Your company's stock dipped 5% this morning. It'll bounce back, and when it doesn't, I'll still have a family," he said. "That's what matters." Evelyn finally looked at him. "That is not a family. That is a PR disaster. She's not a scandal. She's the mother of my children." And what happens when the press uncovers her father's criminal record, or that her mother worked 3 jobs and declared bankruptcy? Nicholas's jaw clenched. That has nothing to do with her. To the public, it has everything to do with her. The Grants don't survive scandals. We erase them. And Nicholas leaned forward, voice low. "Not this time. You don't get to decide that." "Yes, I do," he said, standing. "I've given this family everything it wanted. The clean image, the photo ops, the speeches, and for what? So I can't even choose who I love." Evelyn stood too. "You are not a free man, Nicholas. You're a Grant. That name carries weight. Responsibility. Then maybe I don't want the name anymore." For the first time her voice cracked. "You would give up your legacy for her." "I would give up everything for them," he said, "because they're not my legacy, they're my future." Evelyn's face froze, emotion barely restrained behind cold features. "You'll regret this," she said finally. "No," he said as he turned to leave. "I've regretted being silent. Not anymore." Back at Maya's apartment, a different war was raging. A woman from the building's HOA had just delivered a notice. "Due to recent media disruptions, we ask that you vacate the premises within 30 days. Maya stared at the letter, her breath hitching. "They're kicking me out?" Maria took the paper from her, reading it twice. "They're afraid of the press circus. But I've lived here for years. I pay my rent. I've never—" Maya sat down hard, shaking. "They're punishing me for being visible." Maria sat beside her, resting a hand on Maya's back. "They're punishing you for being with him." Tears welled in Maya's eyes. "This was supposed to be ours, private, peaceful. I didn't sign up for this circus." Before Maria could answer, Nicholas burst through the door, his face red with fury, a folder in his hand. "They're evicting you," she nodded. Guess the neighbors don't like flashbulbs outside. I'll buy the building, he snapped. Maya stood quickly. No, that's not the answer. They can't treat you like this. I don't want to be rescued, Nicholas. I want to live in a world where I don't need to be. He fell silent. I need a break from all of this, she whispered, from headlines, from press, from us. His eyes flickered. What are you saying? I need space. No, he said. No, don't do this. Maya touched her stomach. This isn't just about you and me anymore. I have two lives growing inside me. I can't bring them into a world full of war. Nicholas looked crushed. You said you'd give up anything for them, Maya said quietly. Then let them have peace. Let me have it for now. He nodded slowly, swallowing the lump in his throat. Where will you go? I'll stay with my cousin in upstate New York for a few weeks. Let me send security with you. She shook her head. I need quiet. No bodyguards, no interviews, just time. He stepped forward. When you're ready, I'll call you, she promised, and then she kissed his cheek. A week passed, then two. Nicholas checked his phone every hour. No message, no updates. He tried to focus on work, but headlines haunted him. One morning, he got a call from Miranda. You need to see this, she said. She sent him a video. Maya standing outside a local women's clinic, helping deliver food, wearing a hoodie and sunglasses. Pregnant chef disappears, but reappears doing charity work. Nicholas exhaled, both proud and pained. She was still herself, even through the noise. Finally, on a quiet Sunday morning, his phone rang. Maya, he answered instantly. Hey, she said, the baby's kicked today. Nicholas grinned, both of them, at the same time. Bullies already. She laughed softly. I miss you, he said. I miss you too. Silence. Then she asked, are you still willing to walk away from the name? He hesitated. I already did. You did? I resigned from Grant Foundation yesterday, sold half my company stock. I'm starting something new on my own. Maya was silent. Why? She asked finally. Because the future I want isn't on a Forbes list. It's wherever you are. Back in Manhattan, headlines began to shift. Nicholas Grant's name faded from scandal. New articles appeared. Grant Tech founder resigns to focus on family. From billionaire to father, Nicholas Grant's redemption arc. But the real story hadn't started yet, because soon the babies would arrive, and with them everything would change again. Maya hadn't planned to go into labor early. She had carefully tracked her nutrition, taken all the prenatal classes, and followed every doctor's order to the letter. But nature rarely follows plans. It was the middle of the night when the pain struck like lightning, sharp, sudden, and unforgiving. She groaned, doubled over in the guest bedroom of her cousin's farmhouse, clutching her swollen belly. Her cousin, Elena, rushed in. Maya, are you okay? I think it's time. Maya gasped. Elena didn't hesitate. She called 911, grabbed the go-bag Maya had packed a month ago, and helped her down the stairs. Rain battered the windows, the sky boiling with a summer thunderstorm. As they raced through the countryside toward the hospital, Maya focused on her breathing. But her mind raced somewhere else entirely. Nicholas, should she call him? Should he be here? The pain intensified, another contraction. Tears spilled from her eyes, not from fear, but from the overwhelming reality that her children were coming. Now, back in Manhattan, Nicholas sat in his new apartment, a modest loft overlooking the East River. Gone were the penthouse views and crystal chandeliers. He'd sold the old place 2 weeks ago, needing a new beginning. His phone buzzed, an unknown number. He almost ignored it until instinct told him to answer. Hello, Nicholas, it's Alina. His heart dropped. Is it Maya? Is she okay? She's gone into labor. We're at St. Francis Hospital in Hudson. The babies are coming. Nicholas didn't ask permission. He didn't waste time. He grabbed his keys and sprinted out the door. 2 hours and 100 miles later, Nicholas burst through the doors of the small town hospital, soaked to the skin from running through the downpour. He approached the front desk, voice shaking. Maya Lawson, labor and delivery. Where is she? The nurse looked up, startled, then softened when she saw the panic on his face. She's in or two. They had to do an emergency C-section. Twins in distress. Nicholas's stomach dropped. Can I see her? You'll have to wait until the surgery's done, but I'll let the doctor know you're here. He sank into a waiting chair, hands clasped together, silently praying. Rain pelted the windows, thunder cracked overhead, but inside Nicholas everything was still. He wasn't thinking about his company, he wasn't thinking about headlines, only her, only them. 30 minutes later, a nurse came out holding 2 tiny bundled figures. "They're doing well," she said. "Would you like to meet your children?" Nicholas stood slowly, his face pale, almost reverent. He reached out, and the nurse gently placed the twins into his arms. One boy, one girl, so small, so light. Their faces wrinkled, eyes barely open. He didn't cry, he wept. The dam inside him broke. 8 years of suppressing feelings, of chasing success and ignoring family, it all collapsed in one moment. They were here. His son, his daughter, his purpose. An hour later, a doctor approached. "She's stable," he said. "She lost a lot of blood, but she's strong." Nicholas was allowed in. Maya lay in bed, pale and exhausted, but alive. Her hair clung to her forehead, her eyelids fluttered open slowly. "Nicholas," she murmured. "I'm here," he whispered, taking her hand. "You scared the hell out of me. You made it." "Of course I did." "Are the babies okay?" "They're perfect, just like you." A weak smile touched her lips. "I'm sorry you had to drive in a storm." "I'd have driven through a hurricane," she chuckled, barely. "I didn't think it would feel this real, until I heard them cry." Nicholas kissed her forehead. "You don't have to do this alone anymore, you never did." She looked into his eyes, voice barely audible. "I was always afraid that if I needed you too much, you'd run. And I always feared that if I loved you out loud, the world would punish you." Tears brimmed again. "No more fear," he whispered. "No more hiding," she agreed. 2 days later, they named the babies, Julian Grant and Nova Lawson. Grant. They used both names, both legacies, because this wasn't just Nicholas's redemption arc, it was their family's new story. Maya was released after 4 days, and the family moved into Nicholas's new loft. Small, simple, quiet, no paparazzi, no drama, just soft lullabies and sleepless nights. Maria arrived with meals and support. Elena visited with blankets and books. Friends from Maya's past reached out. Support poured in from women online who'd read her story and stood by her. For the first time, Maya didn't feel like the chef who got pregnant. She felt like a mother. But peace wasn't permanent. One night, a thick envelope arrived in the mail, gold, embossed with the Grant crest. Inside, a legal document, a petition to remove Nicholas's name from the Grant family trust permanently. Attached was a clause, violation of public conduct clause due to ongoing cohabitation with individual deemed reputationally damaging. Nicholas read it, calm and quiet. Maya watched him. "Are you okay?" He nodded. "This is your inheritance. It's not my future," he said, tossing the papers aside. "Are you sure?" she asked. "Because this could change our kids' lives." He sat down beside her. "I've thought about that every night, but Julian and Nova don't need money to be rich. They need 2 parents who love each other, who fight for them, not for a last name." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "I still have some fight left," he said. "But if I lose the Grant legacy, I won't lose sleep." The babies cried from the next room. Maya stood slowly. Nicholas followed. Together, they picked up their son and daughter. And as the storm passed outside, they rocked them quietly in their arms. No red carpets, no cameras, no money in the moment. Just peace, breath, and belonging. 3 weeks passed. The media noise had finally started to die down. The flashbulbs outside Nicholas's building were gone, the stories no longer trending. A few gossip sites still posted updates, but no one really cared anymore. Not when there were newer scandals, fresher gossip. That's how fast the world moves on. But Nicholas and Maya were still in the middle of their story. Life with newborn twins was beautifully exhausting. There were 3 a.m. feedings, diaper emergencies, and lullabies sung through yawns. Nicholas had learned how to rock Nova in just the right rhythm to stop her from screaming. Maya had figured out that Julian only slept if she played Chopin softly in the background. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. One morning, Maya stood in the kitchen with Nova in a sling against her chest. Nicholas was asleep on the couch with Julian drooling on his chest, one arm wrapped protectively around the baby. The sight made her stop and stare. She had once seen him as untouchable, so powerful, so far above her. Now here he was, snoring softly, t-shirt stained with formula, hair tousled, completely vulnerable. Completely hers, and for the first time in weeks, she smiled without hesitation. Later that evening, Nicholas sat across from her as they finished a quiet dinner. The twins were finally asleep, and the candles on the table flickered gently, casting shadows on the walls. "I've been thinking," Nicholas said. "Dangerous." Maya teased. He grinned. "I want to marry you." The fork in her hand froze halfway to her mouth. "What? I'm not saying tomorrow. I'm not even saying soon. But I know one thing. There's no version of the future where I'm not with you." Maya set her fork down. "I don't want to be a scandal," she whispered. "I don't want to be another headline or the story that shocked the city. I want a normal life, a safe one." Nicholas reached for her hand. "Then let's build one, quietly, not for the cameras, for us." She looked at him, eyes cautious but soft. "I never needed a ring to feel like I belonged with you." "I know," he said, "but I want one, because you belong not just in my life. You are my life." The next day, Nicholas made a decision. Not a grand one, not a flashy one, a real one. He registered a new business, Nova and Julian Capital, a small venture firm focused on helping single mothers and underfunded female entrepreneurs, startups that actually need a hand, he said. "Moms with ideas who've been ignored, just like the world tried to ignore you." Maya stared at the first deck presentation. "You named it after the twins." He smiled. "It's theirs. Everything I build now is for them." She leaned in and kissed him. Not because it was romantic, but because it was right. That weekend, Maya returned to Brooklyn for the first time since the scandal. She visited her old neighborhood, the market she used to buy herbs from, the bakery she used to pass by every day. It was surreal, like stepping into a version of herself that felt a lifetime away. At the edge of the neighborhood stood the Yellow Spoon, a small, run-down cafe that had been closed for nearly 2 years. She used to dream of owning it one day, a little place where she could cook, host, feed people without pressure or critics. Nicholas noticed her staring. "You want it?" he asked. She blinked. "What? I'll buy it for you. You turn it into your dream? I don't want to be handed it." "Then I'll invest. You pitch me like a real investor. But this time, don't hold back." 2 weeks later, the Yellow Spoon reopened, not as a luxury restaurant, as a community kitchen. A place where mothers could come learn to cook on a budget, where kids could take baking classes on weekends, where food wasn't about fame, it was about family. Maya wore her apron again, her name stitched across the chest, holding Nova in one arm and stirring soup with the other. And Nicholas, he came in every day at noon, holding Julian and ordering the same thing, whatever the chef recommends. They were never just meals, they were memories in the making. One afternoon, Evelyn Grant arrived unannounced at the Yellow Spoon. Maya saw her from the kitchen window and froze. She wiped her hands, tucked Nova in the sling, and stepped out front. Evelyn stood stiffly, holding a white envelope. "I heard about this place," she said. "You didn't need to come," Maya replied, calm but guarded. "I know." There was a long silence. "I judged you too quickly." Evelyn admitted. "I saw you as a threat, not as a person." Maya said nothing. Evelyn continued. "Nicholas told me if I wanted to know my grandchildren, I had to know you." She held out the envelope. "This is for them, not to buy your approval, but to start over." Maya opened it. A handwritten letter and 2 college savings accounts for Nova and Julian. Tears pricked her eyes. "I'm not asking to be forgiven," Evelyn said, "just to be included." Maya nodded slowly. "We'll see, but this is a start." Weeks passed, months even. Julian took his first steps in the kitchen. Nova said "Mama" during a fundraiser dinner. Maya and Nicholas never had a wedding, not yet. But they didn't need one to feel married. They weren't a perfect family, but they were real. They had been broken, scrutinized, nearly torn apart, but now they were together, and in the quiet of the kitchen, with laughter echoing off the walls and the smell of bread rising in the oven, Maya finally felt something she hadn't felt in years home. Life didn't become perfect the moment Maya met Nicholas. It didn't become perfect when she got pregnant, or when he said, "I love you." Not even when their babies were born. Life still had spit up on fancy suits. Arguments about sleep schedules, nights where the past whispered fears into their minds, and mornings where they wondered if they were doing anything right. But somewhere between the chaos, something beautiful grew. A home, not a mansion, not a legacy, a home, built with midnight feedings, second chances, quiet forgiveness, and the kind of love that doesn't need to shout. Nicholas stepped down from his empire, but built something better. Maya stepped out of the shadows and into her light. Together, they raised two children who would never doubt what love looks like, or how hard their parents fought for it. They didn't write their story for cameras or headlines anymore. They wrote it in crayon notes taped to the fridge, in tiny shoes by the door, in Saturday mornings at the Yellow Spoon, where Nicholas read the paper while Maya taught toddlers how to make cupcakes. She was never just his chef. She was his mirror, his muse, his beginning again, and that positive test. It didn't ruin everything, it changed everything for the better.